right, we'll get started. Welcome everyone to Strategic Seminars. This is a webinar on how to create seminars that drive real growth in 2025. We're going to be covering things like the critical difference between educational and dinner seminars and why choosing the right one is a foundation to success, how top producers are consistently filling their calendars with interested prospects through seminars alone, the art of commanding the room and making your message unforgettable, and a few other things. By way of introduction, my name is Frantz Widmaier. I'm the CEO of billgoodmarketing, and I have with me Ryan Van Sickle. He's the Director of Advisor Development for LeadingResponse. And Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at LeadingResponse?
First off, Franz, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to see you and your team and to be here to kick off the year. So my role has evolved over the years. I wear a lot of hats at LeadingResponse, but these days I've had the pleasure of working with over 1,000+ advisors, strategic partners, IMOs, FMOs, RAs, broker-dealers, you name it. And really, it's all about marketing execution, putting plans together from a long-term standpoint. So we've evolved as a company from the late 90s, early 2000s to remove ourselves from the transactional nature of marketing and try to help advisors and outfits out there put together plans that are more long-term and align with their company goals. So that's what my passion is. Huge marketing nerd, really rooted in psychology, data, all that stuff we'll talk about later on. But yeah, that and a million other things.
Fantastic. So some quick housekeeping. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat box. We are also, throughout this webinar, we're giving you a lot of information, but on top of that, we will be offering two different items in our goodie bag. One is going to be the Seminar Success Zone. This is the foundation to successful seminars. This is rooted in decades worth of information, working with thousands of advisors on generating tons of revenue through seminars. You'll get things like key metrics to track and determine the success of your seminars and some insights into how to improve them. Not only that, but LeadingResponse will be giving you their seminar planning calendar, as well as, Ryan, tell me about this $4,000 you guys are giving away.
So the idea here is we're going to do a drawing for one lucky winner, and we're going to do a seminar campaign, whether that's a dinner seminar campaign, educational workshop, whatever we determine is the best fit for you. But it's going to be completely on us to show you what we can do.
Fantastic. So if you want to receive the Seminar Success Zone or get the seminar planning calendar, or if this webinar enlightens you to the point where you're like, hey, I'm going to do seminars, make sure you wait till the end, fill out the report card at the end, and you'll also be entered into that drawing for the $4,000 in free seminar invitations. A lot of you may not know this, but Ryan is going to be a first-time dad, and I thought it would be kind of silly for me to introduce him to, since I'm a dad, what it means to be a dad with a fantastic dad joke. So, Ryan, what has four wheels and flies?
Four wheels and flies. You
Yeah.
got me.
Okay. A garbage truck. Yeah, it's bad. Anyway.
So good. I was telling you, man, it's so they have to be so bad that they're good. You nailed it.
Yeah. Okay. So now we can get to business. Now tell me the reason why, let me back up. The reason why we work with you guys, and we've been working with you for a long time, is because you guys know what you're doing. You have data to back up what you guys do. Our clients that work with you consistently have positive things to say. We've seen other organizations that come and go, but you guys have been consistent. The ROI working with you is fantastic. So that's why we invited you. And I really am always interested in data. So tell us about 2024.
2024 was interesting. It was one of our better years in terms of response rates. And we serve multiple verticals, but in the financial vertical specifically, one of the biggest years we had with the number of events that we had, campaigns, in-person events, webinars, lead generation, you name it. Looking at things at a cumulative level, we did almost 20,000 campaigns and 36,000 in-person events. I believe the number of markets that we served invitations to was about 2,400. So everywhere from the major metros across the country to rural South Dakota, we had invitations in mailboxes. And when you look at the number of invitations, there was almost 160 million invitations across the entire year. So massively successful. And then, honestly, we'll talk more about data down the line, but that's what makes my job and our marketing consultant's job here at Leading Response fun and also easy,
Mhm.
and makes us confident in the marketing that we do, is because everything's rooted in data. We track everything to a hyper local area, and like I said, we'll share more about that in a little bit.
Okay, cool. Now, when it comes to seminars, give us a little bit of insight into this slide right here. Um, go ahead and take this over and let me know
Sure.
why you included this.
So I have this slide in here because I often get the question, um, of the number we just talked about, 36,000 events in 2024. So if you know of the brand Leading Response, but maybe don't know of the history, RME 360 was one of the companies that became Leading Response, and it was founded in the mid 90s, and tons of experience there, but really rooted in the dinner seminar concept. So we get the question all the time, like, of those events, how many of them were dinner seminars? And it's quite a few. And then they'll normally ask, well, why do you think dinner seminars are so popular? Why do you think they have worked so well for the advisors that have cracked that code? So we've alluded to data, and I think that's a huge part of it, right? Trying to use data to avoid making mistakes and reduce risk. But that's one part of it. But also, the entire dinner seminar approach is rooted in psychology. And I'm a huge fan of this. So we'll crack into this just a little bit to save everyone the time it would take to go through all of this and unpack it. But the gentleman you see here is Dr. Robert Cialdini. So he wrote a book called Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion in 1984. And it talks about really seven principles, but six that really apply to marketing. And even though that was 40 plus years ago, all of those principles still apply to human beings today. And it's really the idea of how to make them take action. What are things we can do to influence their behavior? That's really what marketing is intended to do. So if you go to that next slide, we'll unpack them as they relate specifically to the dinner seminar approach.
Sure.
So first, you've got reciprocity. Pretty simple approach or principle, and it's the idea that you take your neighbors out to dinner. You guys grab the tab at the end of the night, and the first response you get from the neighbor is, "Hey, we got the next one." Right? It's this idea that we feel indebted to others when they do us a favor, when they do something for us. This could be in the form of a free report. It could be something small, a free book giveaway. In the dinner seminar approach, it's a fine dining experience at a place where they feel comfortable, right? It's kind of the quintessential example of leveraging reciprocity to get commitments from a consumer in return. Authority, again, this is the idea not only that you become an authority figure when you're on stage or in front of a crowd at a seminar, but by doing so, you are more likely to have people take action and listen and heed to your advice. Three, we've all heard it. The people are more likely to work with you if they know, like, and trust you. So likability is a huge one. Commitment and consistency. This is one that can be interpreted in different ways. The way I think it's leveraged the best in marketing and in live events specifically is the idea of getting consumers or prospects to get little micro commitments along the way before they attend your event. So if you're making pre-confirmation calls and getting folks to make sure they're still coming, you could ask really impactful questions like, "Hey, Franz, I see you and your wife signed up for our seminar here. We want to make sure that this is impactful for the both of you. Is there anything that's been on your hearts, on your minds lately that if we have time, we could sneak into our presentation?"
Mhm.
And then they go, wow, I've been to these before. No one's ever asked me something like that. So number one, it's a really impactful question, but also if you were and you haven't guaranteed you're going to do anything, it's like, hey, if we have time, hey, and if not, we'll make sure when we're having dinner afterwards, we come by and that's going to be our topic of conversation. Glad that you mentioned that. So now it's like, oh, they're going to do all this work for me, but they've also committed something to you. So between that, you can do things like meal choices. When you're on the phone with them before an event, ask them where they'd like to sit in the room. So if you go through all three of those, and there's more, now they've committed to a topic, a seat in the room, a meal choice, all of these things increase the likelihood that they attend your event and don't ghost you, that they make bigger commitments down the road, like scheduling an appointment in the office and ultimately becoming a client, which is the goal. So that's the idea of leveraging that principle. Scarcity is all over the place, limited time, limited seating, and we've got probably a picture from the pandemic there. Or maybe toilet paper would have been a better example there. And lastly, social proof. And it's this idea that there's safety in numbers, and walking into a room full of strangers at any type of event's not fun.
Yeah.
But when you get there and you see people that are, just like us in the same presumed position, that we are here for advice just like we are. And even if we have money, we still don't know what to do with it or how to avoid challenges ahead. It's nice to see that at these type of events. You're not isolated in an office where it might be intimidating.
Yeah, I really like the section where you're talking about the commitment and consistency and the one-on-one conversation. It's always a very different experience when you are inviting contribution, right? And I think one of the secrets that some of the masters, when I say masters, I mean we've worked with hundreds of advisors on their seminars in terms of how they deliver it and the post-seminar follow-up and all the procedures that go with it. And the guys that always shine, the guys and girls that always shine are the ones that involve the attendees in the presentation. And what a better way to involve them than finding out beforehand what it is that they're interested in. And that's something, especially someone in the office reaching out and thanking them for, deciding to attend and really just discovering what it is for them, like what problem they're trying to solve, what they're interested in. I think that's a really important thing to add. Okay, cool. So now I know what a customer journey is. So, and I think it's incredibly important. And one of the reasons why we work together is because of this. So what did you want to contribute in terms of about the customer journey?
So I think it's really important. We're kind of in the psychology section of the talk today, right? So I thought
Yep.
it made sense to kind of move into the customer journey, consumer journey, however you want to put it, as it relates to marketing. And I think the general theme here is that oftentimes I'll see advisors and outfits out there that are targeting prospects through different channels, different marketing solutions, in a way that doesn't really align with the person where they're at in their respective journey, right? Not every, in fact, most financially qualified prospects out there, unfortunately, aren't walking around thinking, man, I really need a new financial advisor. Or I really, even those who have tons of money, it's not a comfortable subject for folks, right? They try to avoid it, in fact, a lot of the time. So, how do we get folks to move through this journey? And a lot of the time, it's really becoming aware of a brand that's out there. But the biggest step is they have to find out what their problem is first.
Mhm.
Even the best advisors with the best solutions who work best with clients and are just on their A game all the time, they can't really help someone until they realize what that problem actually is. So that's the whole idea of working through this journey, is to figure out where these folks are, using different marketing solutions along the way to make sure we meet them where they are and help them move at a comfortable pace before they make that decision. So
Mhm.
if you go through this red section at the top, this is where Leading Response thrives. We don't try to be an expert in all things. So this starts from awareness and engagement to really the dinner seminars, the second stage at education and problem recognition, and that's to get folks to leave the event with some sort of concern or challenge, maybe a few that they hadn't thought of or their advisor hadn't brought up to them before they had attended, and plant those seeds of doubt. Then they move on to a research phase. Even if they don't schedule a meeting at a seminar or they just move right into some sort of a challenge they have, then didn't attend an event, most of us go to Google to find answers to everything these days, right?
Mhm.
So, can I solve this problem on my own? The good thing for most advisors out there is most of these challenges are very complex, and it's easy to make mistakes. So they often work with professionals like all of you that are attending today, which is awesome, right? But they need to get the research first to realize that they can't do it on their own. And then it's, what are my options? Which is the next stage, evaluation, evaluate what your options are between, a do-it-yourselfer all the way to, independent advisor to, a big firm, what's going to be best for me, down to making a decision. Now, once that person becomes a client, there's an entirely new funnel that starts, and that starts with really just onboarding a client all the way through client advocacy. And that's why I love the marriage between Feel Good Marketing and Leading Response, because that's really what you guys do best, Frantz, that taking that handoff and making sure that our clients are our biggest advocates and referral source. So I'll let you talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely you want clients that are raving fans, and it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that happens through consistency. The reason why I love the client journey funnel is because it really gives you, when you look at it, it's not just a step in something. It's every single person that goes through a major decision goes through an awareness characteristic, right? So at the top, you're unaware of, or you may have an idea of a problem that you might have, or something that needs to be solved at some point. So then you start researching it. And it used to be that Google was the main source of information. Google's still a pretty big source of information, but with the invention and proliferation of large language models, talking about AI, you can get into more serious topics and get educated on it a little bit more. But still, when it comes to money, I mean, this is something people save their whole lives. It's an emotionally driven thing. You need a person to talk to. You need a person, when things are going great, you want someone to celebrate with. When things are going bad, you want someone to yell at. And, when things are bad, that's when advisors, earn their pay. So the reason why I love this is because you guys do a tremendous job at the making somebody aware of the fact that there's a problem and that there's a solution. And you guys do a great job of finding the right people to bring to your dinner or educational seminars. And then at that point, that's where the advisor has to do his job as a presenter. And what we see very often is we see in terms of like where there's failure, there's a few things. One of the major mistakes a presenter can make is not actually being prepared. And what I mean by that is that you should know the information that you're covering cold. You should be an expert in it in a way where you can explain a complicated topic in a very easy to understand way. I'll go over this some more in just a little bit, but just understand that these people have an idea in mind of what a problem is. It's something that's bothering them enough to actually come in and sit down and talk to somebody or listen to somebody to then decide whether they want to talk with them. Um, so that's why it makes sense where you have like this evaluation, right? They're doing their research, you're going through this whole thing where the problem recognition happens. They do their research, they end up at a dinner seminar, and then through that presentation, that demonstration of expertise, not a demonstration and expertise of jargon, but a demonstration and expertise of understanding the problem and the solution. You're then able to bring somebody in, have an appointment with them, and then for sure there's procedures and processes that you take them through to turn them into raving fans that generate tons of referrals for you. But this is a really cool chart. I think that if you were going to screenshot something, I would screenshot this right now because this tells you what you need to have at every step of the way as as your prospect is going through this journey.
If I could add one closing note on that slide, if you're an
Yeah,
advisor that this piqued interest, definitely screenshot it. And I think that the New Year's resolution should be to be more intentional about marketing, right? Don't just throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see if it sticks. This is a way to really understand and be very, very intentional about the way that you market and the way that you engage with prospects for sure.
yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, our consulting clients, it's a similar thing. It's the things that are working are the things that have always worked. Yes, you can do additional things, but going out and trying out something new, you shouldn't make that your prime focus for revenue generation. You should do it as an experiment, right? Give it 6 months, allocate a certain amount of your marketing budget towards it, but do the things that have always worked because they still work incredibly well. So on top of that, the reason why I have this slide up is to give you an idea of what we actually do as a company. And the Bill Good Marketing System was created over decades of iterating, meaning building stuff, measuring it, learning it, crowdsourcing information, working with thousands of advisors, and having an incredibly high success rate. So, for example, last year the average growth from our advisors was 13 million per year. That's not with market. That's not counting in the market. Average new households, I think this might be even a little bit old, was 10 per year. And we have 12 income channels that we teach our advisors and their teams to bring income in on, and advisors and seminars is one of them. But if you look at this circle, we cover every single area that your business needs to be able to grow. So that means in terms of generating additional assets from your current clients, going out and looking for ways to create new assets, modernizing your business, making it effective, helping with your hiring if that's what you need, as well as branding. Branding is like this subject that people don't realize is incredibly important. And a person is taking a risk on you because you're an expert and because they like you. Now, let's say you've done a dinner seminar, you've done an educational event, and the person's like, the couple gets home, they're like, I really liked Ryan. He just seemed really intelligent. He knew what he was talking about. And, maybe we should call him. So then they're like, okay, let's look him up online. And they go online and they find Ryan's website and it's got a broken submission form. The SEO is bad, so they can't really find him. There's no address on Google, right? These are just basic things that could have, if they were handled easily, would have created an excellent experience, would have driven them right forward to actually reach out and have that appointment. But since it didn't exist, that's a second thought at that point. So the system covers everything. It's distilled from best practices that are implemented. It's done in a sequence. It has consistent, measurable results. Like I said before, it covers everything from retention to referral generation to new assets from existing clients, everything that you need to grow this year. And if you have something that's been bothering you, if you've been doing seminars or you want to do seminars, fill out the report card at the end. Let us know. We'll reach out. We're offering a free seminar evaluation. It's done off of statistics that we know that work. And we would love to actually help you uncover those things and discover what you can do to get closer to your goals. Okay, so this case study, tell me a little bit about that. Oh, you're muted.
Let me unmute there. So I would say, and I'm sure you guys get this too, Franz. I'd say if I had to name the number one question I get when it comes to live events, and I've been in this industry for about 15 years now, I would say the number one question is, so I see advisors and I've met advisors that have been successful with dinner seminars. I've also met some that swear by the educational workshop, in a library, community college approach. What do you think I should do? What do you think is better? Which is a great question. If I was on your side, Mr. or Mrs. Advisor that's watching today, I would probably ask the same thing. So what I wanted to share today was a case study of an advisory group up in Minneapolis. They're actually good friends of mine, and we worked together, gosh, probably just after 2010 through just before the pandemic. And they grew really quick. And they were doing educational workshops on Social Security maximization and taxes and retirement. They also had dinner seminars going that was more of a general retirement planning approach, which is pretty standard. And they ran them all year long. Through the holidays, they bought right in from day one. They actually came from another kind of a tangent industry to financial services and just said, hey, what do we got to do to get going? So plugged them in with these because I had strong data in the area and they just bought in and invested. And for a decade, they continuously marketed. So fast forward to right at the end of their tenure, they actually got so successful. They were very religious. They actually retired early because the money got in front of family. So really interesting story, but that's for another day. But we, towards the end of our working together, I asked them, we've done so many events. There's been, almost 50,000 people that they've met over the years. Have you ever seen folks that attended both? Like, do you ever see a workshop person at your dinners or vice versa? And they were like, really? No, like, I really don't see a lot of crossover. So I thought to myself, well, we can validate that. Let's take a look at it. So I think if you click, there should be some visuals here that help. So we had almost 28,000 prospects from their dinner seminars, and there were another 17,000 and change that came from educational workshops. So the question was, we take those two data sets of prospects, right? We've got names, addresses, all of their envelope information. Let's just plop them on top of each other and see what the crossover is. So this was the eye opener. less than 10% across 10 years, 45,000 prospects.
Hmm.
So I showed this. This is normally an eye opener when I'm on stage because this is the answer to that question. Is it dinner seminars or is it educational workshops? It's both.
Yeah.
And the real eye opener here, the takeaway from this slide is if you're only bought in and maybe you've been massively successful with one of these, just understand that there is a large part of your audience that will never attend the other one and you'll never capture those prospects no matter how long that you do dinners or no matter how long you're holding educational classes at the library. It's not someone's cup of tea. It doesn't align with where they're at in their journey at the time, and you're never going to get a chance to meet them with that type of marketing. So there's a major opportunity loss. And we actually talk going back to the masters that you mentioned before. When you master this, when you're the ninja of live events, we have folks that do kind of a two-path close at the end of their dinner seminar,
Hmm.
and it takes the pressure off the prospects because they know there's going to be whatever. If you're great, there's 30% of the units in the room that won't set an appointment, right? If you're fantastic at it, there's still going to be 30% of those prospects. And it's not always that they're not interested or they just came for a nice meal. It's a timing thing. And
Hmm.
maybe it's pressure they need to talk about it after. So they'll actually, if they have educational workshops scheduled, they'll actually offer them as a kind of intermediate step. So if you're not ready to take that step, we realize it's a big decision. We actually have another workshop at the ABC library where we're going to unpack. We talked about taxes tonight, but at a really high level. If that's something that's important to you, meet us at the library. It's totally free to come. We'd love to spend more time with you. And everyone, guess what happens to the appointment rates for the folks that attend multiple events and commit twice? Way up,
Definitely
right?
goes up.
So more FaceTime, more trust and credibility. It's a beautiful thing, but you got to be doing both to make that
And it
happen.
goes back to that funnel point where it's education. And what we've observed is that the advisors that we've worked with on seminar marketing as part of like the Bill Good Marketing System coaching, um, the more that they are actually demonstrate that the subject, because like let's take taxes, right? The more that they demonstrate taxes and Social Security is an actually complicated subject, and that they've spent a lot of time researching and understanding it, the more the person goes, you know what? I don't want to deal with it because you're right. Social Security and taxes are difficult. There isn't some sort of like checklist that I go through that ensures that I'm set up correctly. So that's a great way to take those people that are kind of on the fence, take them through a subject even deeper, demonstrate expertise on that, and then they're totally willing to, you know what? Let me just have somebody else handle it. I don't want to deal with it. Okay, cool. So tell me a little bit more about the dinner seminar process or product that you guys offer.
So seminar success, we mentioned the company's kind of founding brands, RME 360 being one of them. This goes back to the 90s. So seminar success was the flagship program. It was rooted in, believe it or not, the idea from, do you remember the tent sales that car dealerships used to do? So it was this idea of the founder worked with did direct mail for these auto dealerships and found that consumers, we all go to the dealership. It's the worst experience ever. You get high pressure sales, and it's like you're trying to avoid and hide behind cars because you don't want anybody to talk to you. And everyone feels that way. So they figured, what if we, instead of that environment, what if we had these tent sales where it was this big community thing, and there's food, and it's fun, it's over a weekend. These car dealerships would sell twice as many cars in that one weekend than the entire rest of the month.
Hmm.
And it was this idea of bringing folks in a place where they feel comfortable. So that's where the dinner seminar was really rooted. This is way back in the 90s, and it's obviously taken off and become massively popular since then. Um, but that's where it came from, and it's layered in. We talked about the psychology, and we'll talk about the data here in a second as well. And that's what's really, our pride. That's our value add for our clients, and what makes us different from those others in our space is that everything is rooted in data. To date, we've done over 1.7 million events across the country. And that's not a humble brag by any means, folks. We leverage all that data for you. We make sure our marketing consultants on our team are using that. They have tools at their fingertips to look in your area and find out what invitation topics are working the best, invitation styles, zip codes, restaurants. I mean, you name it. will set you up for success to help you avoid maybe some mistakes that you've made in the past, make informed decisions, and reduce the marketing investment risk that you've got. So pretty awesome. I think there's some visuals of the tools on the
Yeah,
next
let's do
slide.
it.
Yeah, so just as an example, we talked about the response data. So venue optimization, not everything is as black and white as it might seem in an area. We'll talk about partnerships with big national chains like Ruth's Chris and Fleming's. Not every market, Ruth's Chris is the best restaurant if there is one. There are some areas where maybe a local spot is more popular and generates better responses and a lower cost per lead for an advisor than Ruth's Chris. And we have that data to show you, hey, you're actually better off spending the money at this restaurant, even though it's a little less expensive and maybe not as well known, it does better consistently. So those are the types of things that we help advisors with. And really, like I said, we're kind of in the same world, although it's not exactly the same. It's trying to maximize returns and reduce risk.
Now let me ask you, I think a while back, Bill and I were talking to somebody on your team, and you guys were looking at doing events in Canada. We had someone that's on the webinar that was asking if your seminar program can be used in Canada at this point.
Good question. Let's put a pin in that, and I will find out afterwards.
Okay.
Before it was a housing of the data problem,
Right.
or kind of a compliance issue there. But I believe things might have evolved. So I'll get you an answer probably by the end of the day tomorrow at the latest. But really great question.
Okay, cool. And Chad, they definitely have lots of data in terms of, Chad was asking, do you have metrics on dinner versus lunch seminars, say at Ruth's Chris, Capital Grill?
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have metrics on that, and we'll provide you with someone to reach out to. Lisa is the rep at Leading Response, and we'll get you her information after the webinar, so you can reach out and get that
It's
data from her.
the start time is so nuanced. I mean, to answer the question, lunch versus dinner, absolutely. Even down to what exact time to start it at. Good example of that. I know offhand I just did a study on this for dinners. The difference in a major metro, most of our major metro areas between a start time of 6 and 6:30 is almost 20 basis points. Just
Yeah.
because you got traffic patterns and no one wants to be the late person coming in 10 minutes late, so they just don't come at all, right? Or don't register because they know that there might be a conflict there, right? So
Yeah.
these are free things you can do to increase your response. So it doesn't cost a dime.
Yeah, I love how much data you guys have. Um, okay, so let's talk about the top performing invitations. And also, I know people want to know what topics should they be talking about? Um, so let's dive into that.
Sure. So, we were talking before the webinar started. It's funny if you look at when we still have some invitations that aesthetically aren't as cool and sexy as they are these days from like 2007, right? And 17, 18 years ago, and looking at invitations today. And while they might look different as they arrive in the mailbox, the core concepts for a lot of these are pretty darn similar. And I hate to kind of generalize things, but if you look at the concerns of a pre-retiree, retiree, that is kind of graduating out of, for the most part, this accumulation stage, looking to have some protection and leave a legacy for their family. Like all of the concerns are still there. But domestically, internationally, a lot of this stuff's still happening. So you'll see the general idea for most of our invitations. And if you look at the two examples here that are, right at or over 1%, it's really based on the key things that are going on in current events, and especially in a year like we had last year where there was an election. So everything's kind of wrapped around, how could these things impact your retirement? And then the bullet points are a lot of the same stuff that it used to be, right? So it's capture their attention with
Mhm.
what we'll call like grocery store talk. You're in the line with someone and, oh yeah, I saw that on the news, and I really don't know how this new law is going to impact retirement. Well, yeah, they were saying those types of things are the things that they might hear about but don't fully understand. You can put some context to as to how it's going to impact them as a family. And then really when you're unpacking the seminar, it's the guts of it is really the same thing in terms of unpacking income into its different, key tenets when it comes to estate planning and taxes and social security and all of the pieces that make up a good income plan. It's been the same. It'll probably be the same 10 years from now, Franz.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, right? Like the headline is the thing that creates the mystery. And the questions are always going to be the same, but the topic is like in terms of like the headline's going to change because that's what the person has attention on or is stuck on right now. As far as like the dinner seminar topics that you guys are seeing, is it's still like what's the top one right now still?
I would say right now, so you've got the income discussion wrapped in on all of the things I mentioned before. So reducing market volatility in my portfolio with all the things that are going on, making sure that I'm not paying unnecessary taxes. I want to maximize my Social Security. I want to make sure that I don't, mess up on my estate planning and leave my heirs in a bad spot. All of these things that have been there, all of it, you don't have to have the entire focus be on income planning. It's really how do I get to the desired outcome despite the challenges that might be in the way, right? And right now, some of the things are really the unknown. So to directly answer your question, right
Yeah,
now, everything at a headline level is new year, new administration, potentially new rules to retirement, right?
right.
So that's the general idea. How is the new administration going to impact it? And then all of those things can kind of fall underneath that. If that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. And that's why it's like, the new rules to retirement in 2024 and beyond, preparing for America's tax crisis, tax alert, right? Yeah, for sure. And these are all things that you can study up on pretty quickly and have a good mastery of. It's not outside of the wheelhouse. Okay, so now when it comes to the success of delivering seminars, I know you guys have some data. I was asking Lisa the other day, I was like, so what type of person shouldn't do seminars? And she said, everyone should do seminars, which actually was interesting for me um, because it really comes down to how the individual delivers, right? There's a bunch of different points that if you do correctly or you do more of them than not, then you're successful. Your seminars will be successful. And Bill Good wrote the Seminar Success Zone. Geez, I don't even know how long ago today. It was just recently updated. But the things that are in the Seminar Success Zone that you can get by filling out the survey at the end, I mean, it's like a 36-page booklet, right? And these are things that we go over in our coaching and consulting. And it basically gives you the proven things and statistics that you need to have in place and the processes that you use to dominate in seminars. So it's basically like the foundational document for seminar success. And I'll go over with you all a few of the things that you should look out for and a few metrics that you should be looking at to track to make sure that your seminars are successful. So your break-even appointment set rate. Now that's, Leading Response has done their job. They've gotten everyone there. And if you're going to make ROI by doing seminars, you need to at least have an appointment set rate of 33%. The success zone metric is 50%. And we know that the expert or the master seminar presenters are getting like 70+%, right? Now, from there, you need to look at the appointment kept ratio. So how do you do a dinner seminar, get the appointment booked, and keep that appointment? Now, that's where your systems come into place. So if you don't have a seminar management system, or you don't have the people to deliver that seminar management system, then you're going to lose people on the way. Because we all know how it is. Like you're excited about something, that you found something that's going to solve your problem, and as time goes by, you start coming up with justifications. You think, well, maybe that's not the right decision. Time creates uncertainty. So what the Seminar Success One will take you through is basically how you do that, who needs to do it, what's the time frame for it, so that you can keep those appointments. So, for example, during a seminar, how many times do you ask for the appointment? Some people would say like, maybe once or twice. Well, before that, how do you set the person up to understand that they should set an appointment? These are all things that are covered in some of our materials, but the number of times that we've seen that you ask for the appointment is not once, it's not twice, but it's 10 to 15 times. Now, you can't just say set an appointment. It has to be worked into your presentation. That's why it's really good to work with somebody like ourselves to work through that seminar presentation to get the script that you need to use, the format, and all that other stuff. Now, post seminar is where you lose the most money on delivering seminars. If you spent, let's say 20 hours preparing, you've researched everything, you've gotten it down to the point where you're not using industry jargon. And because what industry jargon does is it makes people's eyes glaze over and you've lost them. Um, that as well as too many slides. Slides really should be used. And I know there's a battle out there on the internet. It's like too many slides, it doesn't matter, too little slides. I'll tell you that we have a client that does 100 million a year. He built that business doing seminars. He doesn't use any slides. He got to that point using slides, but this guy knows exactly what he's doing. He's gotten to the point where he's not. So the seminar success zone, we're including it with the report card when you fill it out. Um, the metrics will be in there. It tells you exactly what to do so that you can get to the point where you're closing 33% of your appointments kept. And I will let you in on one thing. You can still close people that attended those seminars up to 2 years later. And it's done through a very specific process. That's a drip sequence with phone calls. And it's not the type of things that you think it is. It's not just some sort of email pattern. We have a very proprietary way. We have content that's set up for that. And if you schedule an appointment with one of our consultants through the survey, we can go over with you how you actually do that. Okay, so this next thing, what are some of the perceived challenges of dinner seminars? We get like a love-hate relationship. People think they don't work. But the people that are doing them successfully, they would never go back. So let's start with this one.
Absolutely. So there's tons. I think the list could get pretty exhaustive. I think sometimes we try to find reasons why not just seminars, but any marketing won't work for me.
Mhm.
I think the one that comes up the most is an advisor will see that there's seminars being done in their area and go, well, it's too late. All the prospects are already being marketed to, so I can't do
Mhm.
seminars. Here's the nature and the answer I normally have to that question. The nature of seminars is such that if you do a really, really, really great job, all the metrics we didn't cover like the actual clients obtained from every seminar, but if you get 2 or 3 clients from every seminar you do, you're doing pretty darn good.
Yeah.
But you've got, 30, 40 people in every event. So it might be a timing thing. It could be a misalignment of personalities. There's enough for everybody to share. You pick up a couple, everyone goes back to the pool, and the cycle has existed for 20, 25 years, and it's not going anywhere. So there's enough for everyone to play. I don't care what market you're in. And if you're worried about your area not performing well, like I said, we've got the data and we can disprove that pretty quickly.
Right.
Two, seasonality. You've got, they don't work there's always a reason, right? It's MLK Day is coming up, and then it's summertime. There's always a holiday in the way, or hey, I can't do anything. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas was one that I've dealt with my entire career. And there's ways to be strategic about all of those things, and which we obviously are. But seasonality is another one. You just have to be very intentional about it. Um, Third, there's risk involved with investing in the seminars. There's the marketing piece, there's the dining expenses, and it's not inexpensive. So I totally understand how that could be a concern for advisors.
Hmm.
Results in ROI. If you've had an experience and it's been this roller coaster of, I've had some good experiences where I picked up some clients. I've had some complete bombs and spent $10,000 and didn't get a darn thing for it. I get how that could be a concern as well. And then lastly, we normally see I just don't know where to get started.
Hmm.
How do I even begin this whole thing? I'm so green to the area. I know what it is, obviously, but I don't know where to go, when to do them, how to start. There's just don't even know how to kick things off. And the cool part where things get really fun is when I'm having these conversations and I hear all of these and I'm in front of an amazing crowd. I wish I could see everyone in person right now. But if you could eliminate all of these things, ask yourself, would I feel more comfortable doing in-person events? Would I feel more comfortable jumping in and trying dinner seminars, knowing that I've got Leading Response to help me avoid mistakes. I've got Bill Good Marketing to help me every step along the way to make sure I'm well coached, I'm well versed, I've avoided all the landmines along the way. If you
Hmm.
could get all these things off the table, would you feel more comfortable? And over the years, all of that data that we've leveraged, we actually put together programs that we're so confident in the results we can deliver, we even guarantee them in most areas across the country. So whether that's guaranteeing an RSVP for an event or an actual butt in a seat, an attendee, we've got a program for that. So if you're looking to reduce risk, make sure that you ask us if we have a chance to meet. Hopefully we do. Ask us about those guaranteed programs as well.
Fantastic. So I have some stuff to add to this too, and these are some things that maybe you want to write down. These are things that we've noticed on the coaching side. I've mentioned this before, not being prepared. Preparation is incredibly important. Again, you want to work towards not having any slides. A slide is just mainly there to give, like, when you're talking about something and you need to demonstrate it visually, right? So that a person follows along. That's why it's slides there when you're doing an in-person presentation like that. Not involving the people that are there in the presentation, right? So for example, asking if somebody has a question or you notice that somebody's sort of squinting about something and say, Jared, what do you think about this? Right? Getting the crowd to be involved. Getting them involved requires also being likable. You know how you become likable is you tell stories that people can relate to. Storytelling is just ingrained. It's like since the beginning of time, it's like that's what history is, right? It's the telling of stories. So finding things that people could relate to. Why did you become an advisor, right? What unique thing that propelled you towards where you're going, right? Stories of success that you've had with assisting others in life. It doesn't even have to be as an advisor, but integrating these stories into your presentation makes it so that people want to engage more with you. Now, the idea of setting an appointment at the beginning, right, is incredibly important. And I said that we have some materials we can share with you on how to do that. But just think about it. They know why they're there. The 20% of people that show up that may be there because they want a free dinner or something like that, you're not talking to them anyway. You're talking to the people that have a need that they're there to solve, to get educated on, and they're there to listen to what you have to say about it. So, introducing them to the idea of having an appointment, reminding them that their appointment can be set through the report card at the end, and if there's a topic that somebody asks, and you're setting up a scarcity with that, where it's like, Glenn, I'm really glad that you asked that question. Why don't we set up some time where we can meet in my office and we can spend as much time as you want on that particular topic? That's a great way to let people know, oh yeah, he will spend time with me or she will spend time with me on this topic. Let me set up that appointment. And then I think realistically, when we're looking at a new prospecting channel, we get excited about it. We're going to devote a lot of time and energy and money towards it. And I think one of the biggest things that we see is that one of the biggest mistakes that we see is that a person does a couple of seminars and then says, oh, that didn't work. Or they don't work with somebody and then they decide that it didn't work. You have to look at seminars as being an investment. So when you look at it that way, it's like you need to be a prospecting investor, not a prospecting trader. So making sure that you're investing that time and energy and effort into doing it correctly and giving it, enough times to actually do it. Okay, cool. So we got 11 minutes left. We have a couple more things to skim through. So I just want to make sure that you have enough chance to talk about what benefits you guys offer with helping put on the dinner seminars and educational events.
Heck yeah! So these will be quick, and I know we're coming up to the hour here. So these next two slides I mentioned earlier on, but this really was born during the pandemic. We partnered with Fleming's during the pandemic to help deliver meals to prospects' homes in advance of a webinar. That's really where it started. And we've grown the partnership. We work with all the Fleming's locations across the country. And really, the idea here is this has no impact on us other than helping save advisors money on the dining costs and also providing the format and the venue to hold a 5-star event. Like you said, you're investing in this. It's an experience for the prospect. So some of the intangibles, obviously, you're going to get folks who are, date night out on Friday, Saturday night is at a Fleming's or a Ruth's Chris. Those are the folks that you want, the financially qualified folks that you want at your events. But not only that, the intangibles are the folks that work there are experts at this. They become an extension of your team. So they're grabbing folks by the hand and walking them back to the room so people aren't lost. It's this five-star high touch experience from the second that they get out of their car and open that door at the restaurant. So we're continuing to build those relationships. If you click forward to this next slide, Bruce Chris is much the same. Really, it's about $25-$30 off per person than if you were to walk in by yourself today and book the event. So some considerable savings there. We actually do all the work for you and directly work with the corporate teams for both of these locations. Book everything. We just send you an e-link you sign, and that's it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
one thing to add here is when you have a venue that you're working with and you're going there a lot, make sure that you establish a really good relationship with the people that work there. By doing that, they will do anything you need to make sure that the event is successful. So, let's just think about it. Integrate the people that you're working with at the restaurant into what you're actually doing. Okay, cool. So now I know people wanted to know about educational workshops. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Let's talk about it. I love it. And yeah, if you ever want to learn more, obviously the folks at Bill Good are a great resource for that. Talk to us at Leading Response. We can really dive in depth here. But in general, the idea here is that this is for the consumer has identified however they got there. Could be they aged into a big decision they have to make. They could have gone to a dinner seminar and left going, hey, you know what? They didn't talk about it that much, but this Social Security thing coming up. Like that's a decision we have to make. I don't really know how, I don't want to run into those problems that they brought up. So what should we do? Right. So when they get an invitation to come to the library for an event that's a no pressure, there's no salesy environment. Like the idea is it's this safe place to come and learn about the one thing that's right now important to me and my wife, me and my husband. Right. So the key things you'll find are Social Security, taxes, income planning, estate planning, things like that, where it's held at a library, a community college, a place that's associated with education, and you're not feel like you're going to get sold anything there. The difference here is if you look at it, right next to a dinner seminar is dinner seminars are normally more generally focused where you can cover different areas. And that's why the title here is topic specific education and workshops. You don't have to do it this way. We recommend this way because it's what works best and is most consistent. When it's one topic, you're spending maybe 60 to 90 minutes covering the one thing that's most important to these folks that you're prospecting to, if that makes sense.
And when I was talking with Lisa on your team a few weeks ago, she was saying the demographic of people that show up at educational workshops is actually noticeably different from the ones that show up to dinner seminars. And that's probably why you only get that 10% crossover.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I would imagine if it's a very specific topic, that's lower on the funnel, right? Because that's something
It is.
that's yeah.
Yeah, they're really in the research phase. This is part of the research to come in and learn more because I've identified my problem. Now I'm researching, and this is just a place to come and learn, research more. And if you do a great job as an advisor, the appointment setting rates, some of these are sky high. I mean, I've heard 75, 80, 90% if you do a great job. And the topic is great. Call to action is great.
Yeah, and I can imagine that doing both of these at once is like for high growth, people just want to nail it in 2025 with organic growth. It's just like that's a solid strategy. We see it work where people that are doing a lot of new assets from seminars, they're basically doing that as the main primary new asset channel. And then they're using our client retention strategies, they're using our referral strategies to then generate new assets from existing clients through referrals, through COIs. When you have like two or three of these income channels going at once, I mean, you're seeing your production is basically doubling in 2, 3 years. And for those offices that are bringing on new advisors, this is a fantastic way to be able to get their feet wet and get them into production. I mean, this is a fantastic way. The one thing that you don't want to do is, we've said this many times, but you don't want to bring in a new advisor and give them the bottom part of your book. You could do that, but advisors should know how to actually go out and close new business. And this is a fantastic way to do that.
Absolutely. So along these same lines with the educational events, we actually
Mhm.
have a partnership. So if you have a presentation and you just want us to put butts in seats at your, local library or community college, we can do that. We do tons of that. We've also partnered with with these folks at AFIA, American Financial Education Alliance, to help those advisors that need more of a turnkey process. So they do the event booking for you. They have over 35 scripted and compliant presentations that talk about everything from Social Security to tax-free retirement to taxes in retirement, Medicare, estate planning, combo classes. I mean, you name it. It's a full library. They've got coaching. It's a big community where they're constantly sharing ideas and getting better and helping each other learn. It's an amazing thing. So they're a membership-based service. So really, the idea here is you would represent a chapter as a member of their nonprofit. And with that, you also have savings. So you get the nonprofit postage savings, which makes the marketing very inexpensive as well. So it's been a really great marriage. We've got over 200 chapters across the country, all types of different advisors, new experience, and everything in between. But they're a great group. Like I said, they hold your hand through the whole process, and we are the marketing engine. So we do all the marketing, and they're kind of the middleman, the intermediary. They help facilitate all of the campaigns, and they just deliver it at our doorstep and say, this is what the advisor would like to do. So if educational workshops is something that you're interested in, if representing a nonprofit, something you'd be interested in, it's a great way to go. There's so much trust and credibility with the consumer associated with the nonprofit approach. So definitely let us know. We can hook you up with our team and get a discovery call set up.
Yeah, and the nonprofit postage is actually a huge savings. It's
Definitely.
tremendous. Okay, cool. So we'll hop on this slide. And then John also had a question. He just wanted to know, can you do one of each per month, or should you be doing two? Like, how often should you do them? And we got
Good
three
question.
minutes, so go.
So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. You said his name was John?
Yeah.
So, John, I don't know where you live, but if we get a chance to meet or you speak with anyone on my team, what you'll find is it really comes down to your market. So, are we looking at just one area? Are there different territories we can kind of segment and cluster out and hop around and rotate through? Really, the rule of thumb I try to follow is if I can let a consumer cool off that I've marketed to for at least 90 days, that generally tends to work the best. So, there's different ways to do that, whether you hit different areas. There's suppressions you can do to take people that you mailed to the last campaign out so you don't hit them again too soon. All of that's involved in our strategy. But the idea here is if you're in a huge area where there's 200,000 folks that meet your financial qualifications, you could probably get away with doing a couple of these every week and not think twice about it. And in rural areas, it'd be on the other end of the spectrum. So you're probably somewhere in between. But until we meet, I don't have an exact answer, but good question.
Okay. And then these here are obvious. I mean, this slide's obvious. These are the top performing topics for educational workshops.
Sure.
Um,
And the key takeaway here is if you've done educational workshops, you've done stuff at libraries or your office, even, which can be very difficult, by the way, and you've done it on just retirement planning, you are up against all of the dinner seminar stuff that's out there, right? So just understand the key takeaway here is the educational workshops, in my experience, and it's been almost 15 or over 15 years now, goodness gracious, um, it is that when you choose a topic, make it a niche, narrow topic that you know folks are going to be interested in. That's why we have this listed here. Don't go general, make it very niche. We've got some even like government employees and things like that. Works fantastic. But if you look at the general topics, Social Security, Medicare, estate planning, and taxes are going to be the top performing topics, and it's just focused on that for an hour, hour and a half. So that's
that's
my
fantastic.
point here.
It's been a lot of really good information. I would say anybody that has additional questions, reach out, go ahead and scan this or hit this link, and so you can get your copy of Seminar Success Zone. You get your copy of Leading Responses Seminar Planning Calendar, and hit that check mark. If you would like to find out more information about doing seminars, you'll also get entered into that $4,000 in free seminar marketing from Leading Response. Yeah, if you have any questions for Leading Response or ourselves, please reach out. We are happy to have as many conversations with you as you need. So if not, then have a fantastic 2025. Hope you guys all grow exponentially, and we'll talk to you again next month when we do our next webinar.
Thanks,
Ryan,
guys.
good seeing you.